Support for the show comes from Amazon Prime. You might think of Prime as only a way to get fast, free delivery, or maybe as the place to stream movies, shows, and sports. But it's actually way more than that. Maybe you've got a passion or a hobby. Prime can help you get the most out of it. Whether you're streaming documentaries on marine animals, ordering action figure stands with free one-day delivery, or finding the perfect playlist to impress that special someone, Prime makes it easier and faster to do what you love. Whatever you're into, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into. The answer is going to be yes, so I'll try to ask a better question, but how are the vibes different than, like, say, pre-COVID? And if we're going to ask a smarter question, of the people, like the participation rates in tennis went through the roof during something horrible, right? COVID was one of those things that you could do, and it feels like we're turning people who participated in tennis into fans of tennis. And there's just no chance, if you've seen the last 5 years of our game, that you're not going to be here for life.
Right. Well, one of the knocks on tennis, there were a couple of them, right? And one of them was it was this country club sport. And then you say, well, I don't know. I look out at the field and, the 38-year-old man certainly did not come from great wealth. Neither did a lot of these players playing. And then the other knock on tennis was it's a wimpy sport. You go watch what Coco brought to the table first. And first of all, I just think, I think somehow Coco remains, in a weird way, and I mean this as a compliment, underrated. She is a treasure, and she is so cool and wise and precociously adult, and yet she has this childlike sensibility, and there's no cynicism. And oh yeah, she's also won 2 majors, and she's like would be a college junior. And then you look at Carlos and Sinner. I don't think a lot of people are going to be calling this a wimp sport after watching what those guys did for 5.5 hours. And I think some of this is about, you can play the sport, you can have a 20-year career, you can play the sport, and you're Carlos Alcaraz, and there's no doubt about his level of athleticism. You can have the body of Sinner, which is not the body of Carlos. We're wondering about rivalry after the big 3. Well, guess what? Here are 2 guys in their early 20s, and there is not a player whose surname is anything other than Sinner or Alcaraz has won a major since 2023. So we've got a 1-2 rivalry and a big staircase down to the next level. I think Coco, an American, wins on clay. We haven't even talked about that. It just, storylines abundant, feel-good stories abundant, and I think some of this is individual, and Coco gets elevated, good for her, and Carlos Alcaraz now enters that sort of Federer, Nadal, Lamine Yamal, Mbappe, really global superstar level. But I think the sport as a way to sort of invest your time, energy, fandom, athleticism, I think tennis really won big here as well.
So you said a couple things, like the country club sport narrative, I think, is just lazy. If you look at 2 of the greatest champions we've ever had, they came out of Compton, California. Right. Like, where their dad's defending their practices. I mean, it's like, it's absurd. If you look at the best resume in male tennis history, he grew up in a war-torn country. The star of the last weekend from the media side, Andre Agassi's dad is from Iran and worked the door for tips at Caesar's Palace. So you can miss me with that shit. Like, you can absolutely miss me with that narrative. And as far as like a wimpy sport, like, is there another sport where finely tuned athletes run their bodies to the point of exhaustion where we regularly see people cramp and or talk about it 2 hours in because it might happen?
Wait, let me add something to that. I'll give you part B to that, which is, and they want to do that. Every other sport, they want a shorter season, they want fewer games, they want load management, they want to control their minutes. These tennis players, they don't have to do this. They could very easily say, we want to play less. This is ripping up. You know what? To a person, they all want best of 5 tennis. In that match we got today, 5 hours and 29 minutes. I'm just looking at the stats, by the way. Sinner winning 1 more point. You do something for 5, it's that close. And these guys want to be playing match. I think this is something that's lost too often. These guys, by choice, are playing these long matches that require this level of endurance and concentration. I mean, I really leave, as long as I've been doing this, I leave this event feeling better about tennis than perhaps I ever have.
I yelled a cuss word at my phone like 3 weeks ago because my starter in fantasy baseball got pulled from the game after pitching 3 innings because he had a cramp in his calf. He was indoors. He was indoors. So you can miss me with the wimpy soft narrative, and you can pretty much just miss me forever with that narrative. You're not going to go in the dugout and have someone say, it's okay. We got a reliever. You can be done for a week.
We talk about 1 versus 2, right? And this is the first time in more than a decade that both draws served up the names on the bottom, the names on the top. I will point out, I should probably have done this earlier. You were right. I was wrong. It's only off by a point, but
no, there's no rider. After watching that one, there's no peacocking over that. Those guys were animals in the best way.
So imagine saying not only. I mean, I keep laughing at this TNT aspect of this in your maiden year. But anyway, so say the number 1 and the number 2 seeds are going to do battle. And not only that, these matches are going to go 6-4 in the third, and then a 5th set, shoot them up, but first to 10, super tie break, which, by the way, is the best way to end a match. I think we can all agree. But not only do you have 1 versus 2 in both draws, which hadn't happened in a decade, hadn't happened in 40-some years here, but to have the matches end with that level of theater and that level of sort of depth digging by all 4 players, I really think if tennis can get better than this, like, game on. But 2025 French Open / Roland-Garros really set the bar.
Yeah, I think this is one of those tournaments where you're going to, I think it was 17 Oz Open, like maybe Venus and Serena played, and then Roger came back, and it was Roger. Like, it was. There's certain tournaments where you kind of just remember everyone who was involved in those events, and the certain matchups and the way the draws played out, and like the oh shit moments. And this will certainly be one of those for a long time to come. I don't know that we have heard the last of this. I think this lends itself to a bunch of storylines. I think going into Wimbledon, if we could just spend 5 minutes taking a peek forward to the next month of our season, I said after Novak lost, I said he can win Wimbledon still. I think this was a great. I don't know that I believe that he could still win Roland-Garros, and I say that cautiously because every time I say something, he ends up doing the impossible. But I do think he is a major contender at Wimbledon. I think he's right in there with Carlos and Sinner. I think Sabalenka, I would love to see like a Sabalenka Coco rematch after all things go down there. But I mean, JW, just spent a couple of minutes. Jack Draper.
Reaching another British player, right?
Reaching superstardom this season, and then going into that hype machine that happens around the British players there. This is just going to be a massive magnifying glass, and there's a lot of stories to tell. But hey, let's ask the journalist.
Sometimes we talk about how this cockamamie tennis schedule. It's great that there's another major. You're coming off of this, and 22, whatever it is, 22 days from now, we're going to start another major. That's great. Strike while the iron's hot. But yeah, I mean, I think Sabalenka on grass. I mean, bear in mind there was that silly Russian / Belarusian ban, and last year she had to pull. She didn't play a match. She was injured. She can play on grass, and she can play really
Big
well.
time.
When you think about her game and her athleticism, I mean, I'm not sure, even after this debacle Saturday, I think she's still the favorite at Wimbledon. Where did Coco?
No. Just time out. She's absolutely the favorite at Wimbledon.
Over. I'd say Sabalenka 1, Coco 2, Maddie 3. I don't know. Coco's not.
I don't want to get in rankings and but like, I'm just telling you, there's a lot that goes right for Coco as soon as she steps on a clay court. Time on the floor. Like, listen, she's amazing, but that doesn't mean her spaces where she needs to work change immediately. Rybakina is going to be on the short list. Maddie's going to be on the short list. Sabalenka is the clear-cut favorite. I don't put a lot of stock into a match, besides like, is there going to be a hangover from losing 2 slam finals in a row? And does that affect the psyche? Absolutely. There's not a person to be bet on more confidently than Sabalenka at Wimbledon, just a level set.
Well, it's great. So the number 1 player in the world who's coming off of 2 heartbreaking final losses is trying to win Wimbledon for the first time. That's a pretty good storyline. And oh yeah, the player that just beat her here is also a contender, and the player that beat her in Australia is also a contender. And then on the men's side, this rivalry is just suddenly, because this is next level rivalry now. This is extraordinary. I mean, this was the first time either one of them had ever lost in a major final. And they go out here, they play this match, and they get 5 hours and 29 minutes, and they come within 1 point of each other. So you've got that storyline. And then, there's a top 4 British player who very easily, you think Jack Draper is going to have much attention on him? Oh, he's a good-looking guy, lefty, top 4, and you've got a British player to throw into the mix. This sport all of a sudden has storylines galore, and you really get a sense of how different these athletes are, not just as tennis players, but as people. And suddenly, if you see Tim Henman must be smiling. The Wimbledon marketing has just gone into overdrive. It's good for tennis that we don't. Sometimes we want more time off. We want more of an off season, but it's great that there is another major event less than a month away.
Yeah, listen, I'm not the one who's asking for more of a break in July. I just think that you shouldn't have to choose between Christmas and another event in Australia, just popular opinion. But listen, we're the best parts of the year are the slams. They're the memory makers, right? They're the ones that support the interest for the rest of the year. And you, as you said, you could not have put together a better marketing campaign for the sport than what we saw the last 2 weeks. I personally want to thank the people that cover tennis. I want to thank the players that are putting out this amazing product. I would have lost our house if you would have told me that this type of momentum would have existed post Roger, post Rafa, post Serena, end of Novak, and here we are again. I would not have bet on it. I certainly didn't expect it, but hell, I promise you I'm thankful for it. Support for the show comes from Amazon Prime. Prime is more than just fast, free delivery. It's your go-to for streaming music, movies, and sports. Plus, it's also a great way to connect with the things you love. Into skiing? Stream ski films on Prime Video even when the slopes are bare. Love fishing? You can get new gear delivered fast and be back by the water in no time. Planning your next big trip? Prime helps you get everything you need faster than you can write your out-of-office email. Whatever you're into, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.